Yeah, look, sweetie. Yeah, we get the vibing, don't we? We got some topics to discuss. We get it poppin', homie. Just elected like the new mayor, putting on the classic like he Ric Flair. This is Josh Martinez and Z100, home of your favorite music where the beats are bumping. Pick your favorite company, the wait is over. It's a superstar crossover. If I can step out.
Hey, yo, what up? My name is Josh Martinez of Z100 and iHeartRadio. Brand new wrestling podcast, the Superstar Crossover with my guest. He's a Hall of Famer. He's an icon. He's part of the greatest faction in wrestling history, the Road Dogg. What's going on, man?
Yeah. Hey, how are you, Josh? It's great to be on here. I appreciate the introduction, man. It's still kind of surreal to me when I hear stuff like a Hall of Famer and this and that. It's just like, I don't know. I'm just some old dude that got to live his dream, man. And I don't know if you've heard, but there's new management in World Wrestling Entertainment, and that new management is D-Generation X. And so it's super cool. It's a super cool moment in time for me as I both have been a performer and now on the business side of things. Super cool moment in time for me. So again, I appreciate being here and I appreciate that kind of introduction.
So it's interesting because 25 years ago, you guys essentially ran wrestling. 25 years later, you guys are still running wrestling.
We run wrestling. Well, look, I may be the custodian up here, but I know the boss, and I've run with him for a few years. So it's really, like I said, look, I believe it's a seat that he's deserved and that has been his for a while now. It just, whatever had to go down to get him in that seat. And so I think people are seeing not only a change in the creative, but a change in the atmosphere working here too. So it's a really cool time to be a WWE employee, but it's also a really cool time to be a fan of the WWE.
And I'm glad you mentioned the deserving seat because there's been an immediate change in the TV product. Yeah. Now, from a backstage standpoint, what would you say has been the biggest change from, let's say, even 12 months ago?
Well, I don't know that there's been a change yet because I think things take a while to realize. But I do think there's already a feeling of creativity is alive again, and in the individual. A lot of times, individual creativity was squelched due to the creative desires of the studio, I'll say, rather than say the creative writing team. What, just like in a movie, hey, we want to go this way. So it stifled a lot of individual creativity. But I believe the conversation should be had with all who are wrestlers or wrestling creative about wrestling creative and going forward, how we can make it the best. I feel like that conversation wasn't as welcomed under the last regime as it is under this regime. And I believe this regime just knows about collaboration. It knows because it does come from a background of maybe working with a faction or working with close friends, but collaboration, man, you get closed-minded and you get in a bubble, and you need to be open-minded and have people who can tell you, hey man, that's not good, or that's a wrong decision, or, you know what I mean? It's all debatable because it's just wrestling creative, but you gotta be responsible to somebody. And so I think this new regime will be a much more encompassing ideas, a lot of ideas, and a collaboration for sure.
Now, using those three words, collaboration, using creative freedom, if you will, and more of a team effort, who do you think could prosper more under this slightly different regime? Or maybe a couple performers that you've already noticed, like, that's what they needed. That was the push. That was the difference. Yeah. Let them go.
Well, look, I think a lot of people get invested in their NXT character. And I know this is not the question you asked, but I feel like that's where I went in my head was all these people come up and they change their name and they change the character. And I feel like it was problematic from the get-go. Like we were down there. I was also blessed to be the creative director of character development down there at NXT. So a lot of those guys, I helped create the characters with their help, of course. It's always a collaboration. But then they come up to the main roster and they get their name stripped and I can't do that anymore. I can't, you know what I mean? And so I think individually it's a weight lifted off people's shoulders that they can sink their, look, they came up with this character because it was something they could sink their teeth into. And to have it stripped away when they come up to the main roster is gut wrenching for them personally. And I know that from just having conversations with several of them. It's going to feel really good, and several talent are going to prosper because we're going to go back to old names. We're going to go back to old characters. You're going to see people get more comfortable with delivering their act because it's more closely to who they are. And I think that's where we'll be going in the future.
It's a pretty big weekend for WWE. Smackdown season premiere, Raw season premiere, which is happening. I could see Barclays Center if it wasn't so rainy and foggy from my apartment. Yeah. Barclays Center, tickets are on sale, SeatGeek.com. How exciting is it for this 25-year anniversary reunion on screen for DX?
Yeah, it's super cool, but it's also like, it reminded me last night when I saw the graphic on Monday Night Raw. I was like, wow, why didn't they show a picture of us like from 1998? Like it showed like 4 old dudes with beards. I thought it was like, Wilderness Men or something, a plug for Duck Dynasty. It was just,
you still got time to get the braids put back in, dog.
Yeah, and then I realized after I got mad at the graphic because we look like 4 old men, I realized we are 4 old men. That's why we look like that. But like it's a big deal, man. 25, a quarter of a century since D-Generation X formed and happened, and you don't realize how quick it dissipated too. Like DX was like a comet, man. Like it burned fast, but it burned bright. And so that's why we're still celebrating it 25 years later. And man, what a better venue than the Barclays. And you mentioned it earlier, SeatGeek. Like I don't know why there's still tickets available, but if you're within sound of my voice, I can only imagine what D-Generation X is going to do in the Barclays Center now that the leader of D-Generation X is also the leader of the company. So it's going to be, and I honestly don't have a clue creatively what we're going to do, but I got no sweat. I'll show up with some blue jeans. They'll give me a DX shirt. We'll go from there, and it's going to be the cat's pajamas, man, no doubt.
So one of the big wrestling stories of today is kind of a shoot angle going on Twitter right now. How different would the Attitude Era be if social media were around?
Well, look, it's all speculative, right? Because it wasn't. And thank God I would be divorced and in jail and all of the above, but we were degenerates, right? So, yeah, it would be a lot very different. It'd be a very different time. And I also think like if this is a cop-out answer, but things were different back then. And I know people say that a lot, and you go like, no, it's still bad to do. I don't know, it was looked at differently. And if I was one of the ones that was wrong, then I'm wrong. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, we would be under the jail today if they had social media back then. What's the story though that you were talking about going on Twitter? I must not be aware of it.
It's an AEW thing. Andrade and Sammy Guevara are kind of going at it on Twitter. Allegedly, Sammy confronted Andrade about being too rough in the ring. And Andrade was basically like, there you go. You're laughing. Exactly. Andrade was basically like, my man, this ain't bad level, right? I mean, that's an old adage you've heard probably growing up, taking bumps on the beach in Panama City Beach or wherever it was that you grew up.
Yeah. I mean, bless his heart like that. Look, and so that's, again, goes back to the generations. How can another man go to another man after a wrestling match and go, hey, you hit me too hard? You know what I mean? It's just, look, if you get hit hard, if I hit you really hard and it's too hard, I'm going to apologize to you anyway. Like, oh, that's my bad, dude. I caught you with that one, or whatever. But for you to have it's almost an oxymoron. For you to have the intestinal fortitude to walk up to a man and say, hey man, you hit me too hard. I don't even know how to compute that. You know what I mean?
And anybody that wants to try to get into wrestling, all they got to do is pull up Clash at the Castle to see Walter or
Gunther and Sheamus.
Yeah, Gunther and Sheamus.
Watch that match, and if you don't want to be on either end of those receipts, then you're looking up the wrong. You're sparking up the wrong tree as far as business opportunities.
Now, there are people that it looks really good, right? It's snugged, if you will, to use a wrestling term.
Yeah.
Who were the people that you got in the ring with when you looked at the run sheet, you were like, oh, it's a night off?
Well, to be quite honest, that was just about everybody in the Attitude Era. The only time you would have to struggle a little bit was early on with me in my career. I struggled with Vader a little bit.
You weren't the only one, apparently.
I wasn't. And apparently other people knew the trick to getting his respect. My brother Steve was one of those people. He told me, I got his respect. It was all good from then on. Another time that I got beat up a lot was Bradshaw and Farouk, but I love them. I loved them. I loved our time getting beat up with them, because while they were hitting us hard, we were hitting them hard as well. And it was not something where I went up to Bradshaw afterwards and went, hey man, you hit me really hard out there. It was however, after 25 years, I did tell him, you knocked me out twice in a Survivor Series match in the same match. But I didn't tell him that then, you know what I mean?
Rub some dirt in it and keep it going.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and that's the truth. You know, again, things were different, but for me back then, as well as for everybody, I would take some pills and rub some dirt on it. You know what I mean? Like that was whatever I had to do. And you know, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's where I was in my life at that point. I had to get through it. I had to be there the next night because things were moving fast. And if you weren't there, somebody'd be there in your spot.
What has been the most exciting aspect of your, I guess, job, right? When you love what you do, it's not really a job. But since you've come back, what's been the most exciting aspect of things?
Just, I mean, honestly, just before I got on the phone call with you, I was on a conference call with my colleagues booking these live events. And so one thing I learned being the lead writer of Smackdown was I really enjoy being a part of the construction of a wrestling match forward to when I'm a lead writer of a whole wrestling show. And so being a part of the creation of it is cooler to me than being a part of it in the ring. And that first WrestleMania that I was a part of, and I really had my fingerprints on, and as far as like, look, I was in on every meeting. I sat in, I was in on the conversations. Oh yeah, I agree. His music should go first. Like everything you can think of in compiling a WrestleMania, like the next day was like, holy crap. Like I had played a part in that. And that was really the awakening for my creative, I guess, desires on the office side of things. You know what I mean? Like it's really cool to create and construct and then help execute this thing so that, yeah, I'm using some pieces parts with Ricochet and Sami Zayn or whatever, you know what I mean? But to see it play out how you envisioned it and to see your vision come out on TV on a grand scale, I don't know, man, it's addictive. It's addictive and I'm hooked. And so, yeah, so now my most exciting part is I get to go to some of these live events. I get to see, not only book them, but get to watch how they come out and get to, continue to create in that way. And you know, live events are the lifeblood of WWE, and we're going to continue to run them and continue getting back out there, man. So anytime we're around, whether you're in the sound of my voice, anytime we're around, come see us. But October the 10th, for sure, you're going to want to see us. D-Generation X, like I said before, man, seats are available, and I cannot believe it, but they're available at SeatGeek. And I can only imagine what Triple H is going to do in Brooklyn when he's the boss and the boss. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be, I guarantee it's going to be fun, and I don't have any idea what we're doing.
You did mention Sami Zayn before, part of the biggest storyline. In my opinion, the best thing in wrestling right now is the Bloodline Sami Zayn storyline. How much easier is your job when you have people that goddamn talented?
Oh yeah, I mean it's look, we literally just booked like a mixed card where both brands are on the it's like a super card, and every match was a title match, and every match had a great talent, 2 or 4 or 6, however many. It was all great talent. I thought, man, what a friggin' show! If you come out to this show, what do you get to see? And it really is all of our top talent. And you mentioned on top of that stack is the bloodline and Sami Zayn, man. Look, Sammy and Roman and some of those backstages were priceless. And I mean, award-winning nominations. You know what I mean? Like it was like I was watching a TV show or a movie, but it's these two guys I know and love. And so I just think there's some magic there with even the dynamic of the one Uso not liking him and the other. Like it's television gold, and I love watching it. I would love even more to be a part of the creative of it, but that's not my job right now. But man, it's so fun to watch. And you know, it's commonplace for me to say this company's the best and the other company's not, but their television show is not fluid. It's not that things don't connect to I don't know. I just can't follow their television show. And when I watch now, I will admit 3 hours on Raw used to be a challenge. It used to be a challenge, but for the last 3 months, it's been a joy to watch and a breeze to get through. And SmackDown's even easier. So I don't know. I just love what I'm doing, man.
Now, you did make a comment about the other show. I would assume AEW.
Yeah,
Do you think maybe your schedule is preventing you from really like focusing on watching it, which is skewing your opinion a little bit?
Yeah. It could for sure. And I also don't know their talent like I know our talent. You know what I mean? And so it's more difficult for me to have a connection to get into it because I don't know those guys. And so that's an honest. I appreciate you saying that because that's an honest reflection on my take. You know what I mean?
Hey, listen, I don't know if you know this, but when you speak, people listen. So I'm trying to make sure that you're good, dog. You know what I mean?
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. Look, like I said, I can't wait. Well, look, the future's here, right? There's a new regime. It's under new management. 15% ratings spike in the last report that we got, analytics on Monday Night Raw alone. So, I mean, so we're seeing things moving in the direction that they always should have been moving in. They just weren't. And I don't know the reason why. I know the reason why they're moving that way now is Hunter's he's the new creative leader. He's got a great mind for this industry. He's got a great vision for how he sees things. And it's a big vision. It's above my head, that's for sure. But I love sitting next to him and sitting under that tree and seeing his vision come to pass. Some of the funnest things I've ever done in my wrestling career are put entrances together with Hunter, like me and him doing Karrion Kross's entrance, or me and him doing, all these entrances you see that are dynamic. We built all those, or not all of them, but most of them. We built them from scratch at NXT. You know what I mean? And so that, to me, it's so much more fun than getting hit in the head with a steel chair. I can tell you that much.
Or a goddamn cookie sheet. Don't know why that was a thing.
The cookie sheets I welcomed. It was the chair shots that hurt the worst. But the cookie sheets got banned the quickest because it was like, oh, those don't look like they hurt at all. It's like, because they don't. Please continue hitting me.
Before we wrap this up, again, 25-year anniversary of DX, Barclays Center, Monday Night Raw, the season premiere. The Bloodline will be there as well. It's going to be a lot of stars from Smackdown, a lot of stars from Raw. Who knows who else will pop up Monday night? SeatGeek.com has your tickets. Now, before I let you go, I need to put you on the spot.
Okay.
I did mention entrances. So I want to know, what is the greatest theme song of all time? And who has the greatest entrance of all time? And I will let you take that however you want.
Wow. So look, I'm a huge fan of Randy Orton's theme music. I don't know if it's because it's the music I like. I don't know if it's because it's the words. I don't know. I'm just a huge fan of his music. Look, I'm a huge fan of Shawn Michaels' entrance music too. And so it's old school, but it was catchy. As far as entrances go, man, that's a trick question because there's some entrances like on Manias and stuff that you just go, that entrance was badass. You know what I mean? And so but as far as like normal week to week entrance goes, Stone Cold or the Dead Man for me. And because I've stood in the ring when the glass broke, and I've stood in the ring when the gong hit, and both are palpable in the arena. especially in a sold out venue, you can feel the energy, and you can, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps talking to you about it because you can feel it, that it's that palpable in the room. And so I guess my entrances would be skewed, but it's just because I've stood in the ring in the dark in sold out venues after getting a dang good response myself. You know, me and Billy and Hunter, or me and, you know, whoever, and stood there and heard that glass break or that gong go off, and the people come unglued, and you feel it too. It's not in a scary way. It's not in a, it's like, but it's like, oh man, it's on. You know what I mean? Like it jacks you up. Now we're going to go. So yeah, I guess those are my answers. Maybe Randy Orton and Stone Cold and the Dead Man get a tie.
I think it says something that for a split second you go back to being Brian, the wrestling fan, and then you're like,
can't help it. And look, if anybody can while they're in that moment, I don't know, man. I think they're doing it wrong.
That's a great point. And you know what? We will see Road Dogg Monday night. Maybe Brian comes out pending the Barclays Center reaction for a little bit. But we'll see you Monday night one more time. It's always fun chatting with a living legend and an icon. And I'm not just saying that to kiss your ass, because I don't have to say that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
well,
I
appreciate you saying it. And again, everybody, God only knows what's going to happen on October the 10th at the Barclays Arena. But please come out and join us. And if you don't feel like you need to, then I got 2 words for you. Suck it.